Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
We're in Way Media. Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. I am Father Malone, and joining me here, back in proper Roundup form, is Miss Ripley Jean. That's right, you get a pick this week. And what a week. It's been crazy here in the desert. How crazy? I'm wearing a kilt right now. No joke. I'm wearing the family tartan as I record this. Why? Am I proud? Sure. But isn't it more likely that the temperature jumped up into the 90s suddenly and all of my summer clothes are packed away? I'd say that was possible. Maybe even exactly what's happening right now. Okay, before we go further, we have a bit of business. Like how out of order everything has been lately. This past Friday was supposed to be Fusco Fest, where HP from Noise Junkies and I are discussing the filmography of screenwriter John Fusco, and we were supposed to bring you Thunderheart. But that movie is really, really good, and at the same time, I didn't want the show to be another couple of suburban white guys discussing Native American politics and their mistreatment over the last few hundred years. You know, centuries. To that end, we've got an indigenous friend of mine coming on, but her availability is limited. So instead of the chronological way we've been hoping to review those films, we're just going to plow ahead. And this Friday, we'll be taking a look at the next film in Mr. Fusco's oeuvre. That would be The Babe, the John Goodman flick about the Sultan of Swat, Babe Ruth, whose delicious legacy can still be sampled in candy bar form. That's going to be this Friday, and then we'll get Thunderheart out to you, and then we'll get back on track. We've got 2 segments to update simultaneously here.
Pen pals from around the world!
Okay, we've been duking it out for the past few weeks about which musical you'd want us to cover over on the regular show, and so far the contenders stand at 2. They are neck and neck. 1 vote each. Those are American Pop and Little Shop of Horrors. Or they were 1 vote each. Except Little Shop has officially pulled ahead with a 2nd vote. But now a new wrinkle, because we have a new contender. Thanks to our main man, Ian Banks in Scotland. Hey, I'm wearing a kilt. Who was he has nominated the Dennis Potter series, The Singing Detective. Does that count? I mean, it's more of a jukebox musical, and it's kind of a TV series, but I'm game. I've only ever seen the Keith Gordon-directed remake with Robert Downey Jr., and that's like a 90-minute movie. Whereas it's a TV series in the UK, that Robert Downey Jr. role was originally played by Michael Gambon. Now, I'd be lying if the idea of a miniseries wasn't daunting, but at the same time, well, two things. It'll force HP to watch like 6 hours of depressing Douglas Sirk-like melodrama interspersed with hits of the day being like the 1940s, and I get to watch Michael Gambon dance. That's pretty damn tantalizing. So now it's in your capable hands, midnight viewers. What do you want us to watch? What do you want to hear us talk about? Is it American Pop or Little Shop or The Singing Cop? Cast your votes. Drop me a line. I'm at Father Malone for all the socials. You can find me there, or fathermalone71 at gmail.com for all the inquiries and questions and the what have yous. And now the weekly question. Are you watching Andor, fellow Americans? Are you watching Andor? It's wrapping up this week, and there's going to be a huge hole in my rebel heart. You need to watch Andor. Oh my goodness, we have a new segment. I love a new segment. When I was a kid, if I was reading a magazine, it was probably Fangoria. That was the horror entertainment monthly of choice. It came along at exactly the right time for me, when I was already bristling at the limitations of the likes of Starlog or Cinefantastique. Yeah, I love spaceships and genre movies in general, but where was the fucking blood? Where were the creatures? The masked killers? Fangoria, that's where they lived. And my favorite feature in the magazine was the terror teletype. That's how antiquated things were when I was a kid. Horror movie news came via Morse code at the offices of Fangoria. Robert Englund is returning for the third Elm Street movie, and it's going to be written and directed by Wes Craven. They got things right about as much as your local weatherman. I'm still waiting for Apartment Living, George Romero's film about a sentient apartment building that feeds off its tenants. But what it lacked in accuracy, it made up for in enthusiasm. Just watching the list of potential projects grow month after month, year after year, made the genre feel legitimate. And it promised a longevity that could not be denied. In the spirit of the terror teletype, here at the Weekly Roundup, we offer you the Frightening Fax Machine. First, we get the teaser for Predator Badlands. That is Dan Trachtenberg's follow-up to his film Prey, the film that should have been released theatrically about a Native American warrior battling a predator in the 18th century. This one's a little different. It's an alien world and a young predator out to prove his mettle. As such, being young, he hasn't got his dreads yet. And I guess a lot of nerds are crying about that. Shut the fuck up, nerds. That last movie was great. This movie's going to be great. Elle Fanning shows up as a Weyland-Yutani android for a healthy slice of franchise crossover. That one's coming out in November. The perfect film to go and ignore your family during the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm really looking forward to this one. In other Predator news, is this the year of the Predator? With this administration? Oh, political. Predator, Killer of Killers, also from Dan Trachtenberg, is an animated anthology, so you know we're going to be covering it. It tells different tales in different ages, all involving a predator, maybe the same predator. There's a Viking tale, a ninja tale, and then a World War II fighter pilot tale. Kind of like the Animatrix, but, focused, and less of a commercial for the next film in the franchise. Last Flight of the Osiris, or whatever the fuck that was. Killer of Killers is out in June, and it's streaming. August will bring us the follow-up to Barbarian from director Zach Kreger, Weapons. That's with Josh Brolin and Julia Garner and Benedict Wong and Alden Ehrenreich. It's about a class of children that one night, the whole class get out of their beds, walk outside, and disappear. The trailer is creepy as fuck. I am not looking forward to this. I mean that in the best way possible. The trailer creeped me out. In Stephen King news, don't try and cancel Stephen King. In fact, stop canceling each other. There are real fucking problems in the world. We don't need to be canceling a fucking stalwart standard bearer, the guy on top of the hill fucking urging us on. Anyway, Francis Lawrence, who made that fucking excellent Constantine and a whole bunch of Hunger Games movies that I couldn't get through, is here adapting the Stephen King novella The Long Walk. Although technically it's a Richard Bachman novella, King's pen name there for a while. Have all the Bachman books been adapted? No, and they are never going to adapt Rage. Here is a simple story. Much like Bachman's other book, The Running Man, this is a game show of sorts. You volunteer for the long walk to win millions. The rule is you walk at an unbroken 3 miles an hour. If you fall short, you're given 3 warnings, and then you're executed. It's kind of like Speed mashed up with They Shoot Horses, Don't They, in a dystopian future. Okay, let's jump back in time, shall we? To April of 1992. I remember a very sultry Friday night at the Cineplex Odeon on Fairfax in Los Angeles. The same theater that a few months later, a friend of mine would get the print for Batman Returns for a press screening a full week before that movie came out. So he was going to screen it that night, but he told too many fucking people, so by the time we got there at midnight, there was an entire block of hundreds of expectant people spilling out onto the street on a random Thursday in June. They canceled and sent everyone home. And then we watched it at 2 a.m. Ha-ha! But on this night, several months earlier, the theater is fucking packed. And because of the sudden heat outside, the AC hasn't had a chance to catch up. So it's this weird, humid, too cold atmosphere. And the first trailer is for Glengarry Glen Ross, which is just a giant brass ball swinging back and forth in Alec Baldwin's speech, and then they reveal the brass balls prop. But then, after all the coming soons and the pick up your trashes and the no talking admonishments, Robert Altman's film The Player unspooled. That's Altman and screenwriter Michael Tolkin's poisoned love letter to the then contemporary Hollywood studio system that was packed to the fucking gills with celebrities of every stripe and strata popping up to lampoon themselves and the entire twisted industry. Anchored with a lead performance by Tim Robbins as studio head Griffin Mill, who accidentally kills a screenwriter that he believes has been blackmailing him, and the frantic attempt to cover his tracks and still maintain tenuous grasp over the control of his company. It is a wide-eyed, black-hearted gaze into everything terrible and fantastic in the film industry. I was surprised we didn't see follow-ups over the years, brief check-ins with Griffin Mill to see how he's doing. The Player was a novel, after all. How about a sequel, Mr. Tolkien? Oh, wait, never mind. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have picked up that particular ball. This is The Studio.
Being the head of Continental is the only job I've ever wanted.
Yeah, I'm honored, obviously, to be one of the people that gets to choose, which movies get made and which ones don't. That's huge. And I got into all this because, I love movies, but now I have this fear that my job is to ruin them.
The job is a meat grinder.
Prestige films and box office hits, those are not mutually exclusive. We can do both and we will do both.
Matt, I get it. You want to make great art and make $1 billion doing it. Well, guess what? That never happens, and you're going to screw everything up trying to make it happen.
If it was up to me, we'd be focusing on making the next Rosemary's Baby or Annie Hall or some great film that wasn't directed by a pervert.
Turns out perverts make great movies.
They really do.
Well, lay low, okay? There's zero margin for error on this shot.
Action, please.
Greta, I actually want to talk to you about awards season. Just make sure to keep your winter clear. We have
Okay, Matt.
This job is just so much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Matt!
What up, Matt? Everyone wants something from me, and I can't give it to them.
If you guys are actually open to doing something different, I have a lot of ideas.
We love new ideas.
Just not too new, because we got a pretty tight formula that we got to hit.
I wouldn't say it's a formula so much as a structure that we 100% know works, so we're going to do it over and over again.
Fine is not good enough.
This is racist.
You want to bring down the studio? Why didn't you shut this party down?
Why do you keep lying?
What is wrong with you?
The job makes you stressed and panicked and miserable. But when it all comes together and you make a good movie, it's good forever.
Well, you're gonna get us all fired.
The Studio is currently airing on Apple Plus, and I think Rogen and Goldberg would be the first to cite the influence of The Player on their show. Not just the setting and the cameos and frantic nature, but the jazzy, improvisational-sounding score, the adherence to the longest takes possible, and handheld takes at that, and overall the underlying and deeply felt love for Hollywood. Though in that regard, The Studio kinda has it over The Player, because while you sense the characters in The Player are trapped in their situations, the characters in The Studio are happy volunteers. You know, these days when people talk about the preservation of and continued endurance of cinema, they're talking about people like Scorsese or Christopher Nolan. Even Tarantino was part of that, with his adherence to celluloid over digital. By the way, David Cronenberg came out swinging this week about the superiority of digital to film. You gotta love when an elder sets you straight about the good old days. I once met Frank Langella, the actor who played Dracula. He's fucking huge, by the way, and I told him I thought his Dracula was really scary. And he put his hand on my shoulder, and he leaned in very close, and he intoned, "You were very young," which was true. And he's right. It wasn't a scary performance, but it's a great performance. Anyway, you can name all the current greats and all their self-seriousness, the P.T. Andersons, the Damien Chazelles, that fucking Eggers guy, and you could say the future of cinema is secure. It's in decent hands. And I'd say maybe, who knows, but I know the future of Hollywood is secure. And it's not because of any of those fuckers. It's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg leading the way. And they've been doing it for decades. They've managed through all the high and low ends of the dramatic spectrum, from gross-out nonsense to absolute refinement. Certainly that's on display here in the studio. And they've managed the greatest trick ever. They've done so with genuine characters interacting in realistic ways. So yeah, they wrote a high school party movie that's really a story about two childhood friends who are terrified of losing each other. In fact, friendship is a predominant theme in their work, probably why theirs is the best adaptation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they were, actual teenagers. They've done a clutch of movies and TV show togethers, and dare I say, while everyone has been getting superhero fatigue from watching the same titans duke it out, I'm talking about DC versus Marvel, and sometimes Marvel versus Marvel whenever Sony needs to extend a copyright, Rogen and Goldberg have been like Dark Horse or Image Comics, just pumping out the most exciting comic book stuff ever. They produced and sometimes wrote Preacher, a great adaptation of the Garth Ennis title. Then they produced The Boys. And if that's not the best parody of superheroes ever, well, it is. That's the end of that sentence. And on the other end of the same fucking spectrum, they're producing the animated series of Robert Kirkman's Invincible. I know you're watching The Boys, but you gotta watch Invincible. It's fucking incredible. I really think these guys are the standard bearers for New Hollywood, because a new one is coming. But if you want to watch the way old Hollywood is dealing with the transition, then the studio is the show for you. Rogen plays Matt Remick, the newly anointed head of Continental Studios, pushing out former head Patty Lee, played by streaming service Lucky Charm Catherine O'Hara. This and The Last of Us, so greedy. But then again, there's not enough. More O'Hara, you hear? He's assisted, if you can say that, by Matt's friend and VP of production, Sal Saperstein. That's a name you're going to really remember by the end of the series, played by Ike Barinholtz, as he tries to battle the encroaching tide of IP mania that has consumed the entertainment world. That IP, the intellectual property, is king these days, and they deal with it right out of the gate with Continental securing the rights to make a Kool-Aid movie. How do you balance that commerce with art? Is it possible? Is anything art anymore? I suppose you can hire Martin Scorsese, as they do here, and he can try to make a biography of Jim Jones and the Jonestown cult and call the whole thing Kool-Aid. That goes down, well, kind of like Kool-Aid, if I'm being honest. I kind of hated that beverage, except for the blue version that came out in the late 80s. Oh, man, that was delicious. A pitcher of blue drink in Castlevania. That's an evening. But that's just episode 1. Rogen's Matt is a self-described cinephile, which is a dangerous thing to be in the current climate. So when he allows a filmmaker to shoot on film with much grandstanding and a reel goes missing, it isn't just a fuck-up that insurance will cover, it's one of a million potential pitfalls that can bring the whole studio down. Which might have seemed hilarious back in the day, but studios are falling left and right these days. Which makes what would have been a trifle into an important statement, even a document, of the final days of the studio system. I should also mention that the series is very funny. This is a comedy, and they squeeze the juice wherever they can, from cringing, desperate attempts to be thanked at award shows to an entire episode dedicated to a oneer, a shot in film typically that goes on for an inordinate amount of time, like, I don't know, the opening of The Player, and then they cleverly made the entire episode a oneer itself. That episode also features Sarah Polley. I love Sarah Polley. Just wanted to put that out there. At the time of this recording, we only have 8 of the 10 episodes run available, but there hasn't been a misfire, and it has been picked up for Season 2. If I have any criticism, it's about the cameos. it's kind of the same problem that they had in The Player. By the way, the actual head of the studio in the studio is played by Bryan Cranston. His character is named Griffin Mill, which is Tim Robbins' character's name in The Player. Anyway, we accept Rogen and Barinholtz as distinct characters, and then we get a cavalcade of as-themselves cameos. Martin Scorsese, Ron Howard, Ice Cube, Adam Scott, Johnny Knoxville, Quinta Brunson, and on and on and on. So when David Krumholtz shows up as an agent, or Rebecca Hall as a surgeon, I know this is a quibble, but it's really jarring. And I also know there's no solution for it, but anyway. In the plus column, Continental has a backlot, so the series is filled to the brim with tons of walking around or golf carting around past the sites you always want to see, but you never actually get to on a backlot. I'm talking about cowboys mingling with showgirls while camels are led past in the background. All that Dream Factory goodness. What? It's not dark enough. Aren't things dark enough these days? Guess not. Hit it, HP.
Come and listen to a dog that's hip. Here we go, it's Rip's Picks, yeah!
Thank you, HP. Watch out for those corporate weasels. Rip's Pick is the dark twin of the studio. This premiered back in 1999 on Fox, lasting one season. It's called Action. It was created by Chris Thompson, who'd written on Laverne and Shirley and Bosom Buddies before escaping the TV ghetto with Jumpin' Jack Flash and Back to the Beach. And then back to the TV ghetto with Larry Sanders Show and The Naked Truth before producing Action. That's the story of Peter Dragon, a Joel Silver-like mega-producer of big-budget action films, whose recent flick, Slow Torture, was a $150 million bomb. The series follows Dragon as he tries to claw his way back to the top with the help of a former child star turned high-priced call girl, played by Ileana Douglas. Of course it is. Oh, and Peter Dragon is Jay Moore at his absolute best. I don't know how to describe what that best is, but it's on display. Actually, you know what it is? He had this cocky swagger that seemed a bit unearned, but you still appreciated it for its exuberance. All of that works perfectly as Peter Dragon. That same kind of self-importance that you're always wondering if they can actually back up. You know, the kind you see in, well, Joel Silver. By the way, Joel Silver, executive producer on the show. This is a bitter show. I dare say it's a hostile show, and I'm shocked it was on network television at the time. It strained at conventions but was hamstrung by them, and it probably should have been on HBO. You can't really build up any steam criticizing corporate bullshit in between commercials for soap, you dig? A bitter irony considering HBO wanted the series, but Fox offered a higher budget and the potential to make the actual film being made in the series. So Peter Dragon spends the entirety of Season 1 attempting to get a movie made called Beverly Hills Gun Club. At the end of Season 1, Fox would then air the actual movie Beverly Hills Gun Club. Who could resist that? In the end, Fox would air only 8 episodes of the series before canceling it, which is a drag. It would have flourished over on home box office. But then, maybe that's for the best because it would have kept its story editor in place, and we'd be all the worse for it. Will Forte, one of the genuinely weirdest writer-performers to ever come out of Saturday Night Live, was the story editor on Action, and he wrote 3 episodes. Very funny episodes. Also funny is how all 3 properties I've mentioned, The Player, The Studio, and now Action, are all predicated on panic. These are frantic stories about people just trying to keep their heads above water. Like we're all doing these days. I believe Action is on Prime if you want to check it out. It might be on YouTube for free. I think it's a hell of a bookend to the studio. Both of those books, by the way, sitting on a bookshelf called The Player. Maybe you should just check out The Player. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us once again. I've got to get out of here. I got to try and repair my e-bike's back tire. Never dealt with a fucking inner tube bullshit. Anyway, God help me. This Friday, like I said, HP rejoins us on Fusco Fest to talk Babe Ruth. That's gonna be good. It's gonna be something. Next week on Roundup, maybe Andor. I don't know, maybe something else. Here's a bit from Action.
Now you are perilously close to being cited for contempt, Mr. Dragon.
I'm already in contempt. I'm in contempt of all of you old whores and hypocrites. At least I'm giving the American people what they want.
And just exactly what is it that you think they want?
I'll tell you exactly what they want, Senator. They want chase scenes and car crashes. They want firm breast and tight-ass Latino men. They want their cowboys to be strong and silent. They want their cops to bend the rules to get the job done. They want the boy to get the girl. They want the alien to be killed unless he's cute. They want the good guy to win. They want the bad guy to die, hopefully in the biggest explosion the budget will allow. But most importantly, Senator, they want to walk into a theater and for 90 minutes forget the fucking mess that you have left of this nation.
You, sir, are a malignancy on America.
I'm a malignancy? Well, if I'm a malignancy and my movies are cancer, I hope the whole damn country gets cancer. How's that?
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.